Milton and Catherine Hershey signed the deed of trust creating the Hershey Industrial School on November 15, 1909. The deed of trust stated that the students be instructed in agriculture, horticulture, gardening, mechanical trades, and handicrafts. By the early 1930s, what began as the Hershey's vision to help others grew into a home and school with over 700 students, many of high school age. High school academic and vocational training was a partnership with the township school.
When you got to sixth grade, you went to the public school. Teachers weren't as close to the students because they had public school and they had Milton Hershey School. In fact, some of the students used to say that sometimes the public school teachers were a little bit resentful of the Milton Hershey boys.
Soon the idea of a larger school for the boys at the Hershey Industrial School, one that could see the children through to graduation with an education and job training, became more and more important. If Milton Hershey determined what the school achieved and instilled in young people, Catherine Hershey had the vision of where it would be, high on the crest of Pat's Hill, next to the hotel, majestically poised to drive the eye up toward its lofty mission.
One of the early buildings Dad designed in Hershey was the vocational school, which was at the Hershey High School, the public school. And out of that grew the direction, the planning for the school on the hill. Dad was always looking for a way to be economical in terms of how the things are built. And land back then, I guess, was relatively cheap, and they had the space to do it. And therefore, the school basically became spread out into 13 buildings.
100 tons of steel, 67,528 bags of cement, and 884,000 bricks. The same type of bricks used in the construction of the hotel. Built to accommodate 1,500 students, serving grades 6 to 12. Spacious and airy classrooms with large trade shop wings, stocked with the latest and best equipment available. No expense was spared to give the students the best environment for learning. Its elevation, spread, and modern style made a bold statement, although you never know it from Mr. Hershey's reaction.
While the building was being completed, Mr. Hershey had been away, and so when it was completed, one of the things that I think Dad was a little nervous about was the lobby. When you come in, it was all marble, which is a little bit different than most schools. And anyhow, he took Mr. Hershey on a guided tour. Just the two of them walked through the building. And when they completed, Mr. Hershey said, "Very nice," and that was all he needed. Man, a few words.
On November 15, 1934, students, faculty, and administration filled the auditorium for the dedication ceremony and witnessed Milton Hershey accepting the keys to his new school. Moved to tears by the ovation given to him, Mr. Hershey spoke barely above a whisper. When I started the school 25 years ago, I had no idea what would happen. I thought if it grew to provide for 100 boys, that would have been a good job.
We were all there in the assembly, or in the auditorium, for the dedication. I remember, the crowd, and I remember Mr. Hershey being there and how proud he was. It was really awesome. We didn't have a chance to go through it before school, so the first day of school and the dedication was our first day of school. My God, what a large building. That building was so modern compared to any other high school, or any school, period, at the time.
At 1934 time frame, to have a facility like that was just very unique. It did have a medical section, had the barber shop, which was rather unique for a school, and then it had the dental facility. They always were looking for new ideas, and I think the way to make the facility more functional, so to speak, and of course one of these were the bleachers adjacent to the gymnasium floor that folded into the walls. So then Dad always had to pull one of the bleachers down, you know, and demonstrate that.
That whole building, it didn't reek of wealth. But you looked at it, you said, boy, that is so tastefully done. It wasn't so nice to have the money to do it.
That was a really, I would say it was probably the biggest turning point at the time for the direction of the school, because teachers, they were very much attached to the kids, and they were really proud to be teachers there, and proud of the new building.
This is where the academics were taught. About 80% of our students in a particular class were vocational students.
A workshop built to conform to the standards and tolerances of industry. Classroom instruction is supplemented by the knowledge gained from useful production.
Zook's Barber Shop, as we call it, was up here above the main entrance to the building.
During the World Series time, the barber shop had the radio, and then they had to pull the shade, but they always had a sheet out on the door, keeping the score up to date. And so if we had a chance to get down to the end of where the barber shop was to see what the score was in the World Series.
Oh, we'd all come in for lunch, and they'd all go. You'd go to your table, but you didn't sit down. You had to stand until we rang the bell. Everything was ready to go. And at that point, you'd sit down. You'd have any announcements, if you had any announcements to make. You would say a prayer, and then into the prayer, amen, and up would go one of your students, left or right of the monitor. And they'd go up to the, bring a tray of food, whatever the hot food was, and then you passed it around family style.
And at noontime, when we got back from the cafeteria, we had a couple of basketballs, and they had big waste cans down on the first floor to the stairway, and we'd be up on the second floor shooting basketballs down to the waste cans.
A unique place with unique features that came in handy during World War II.
We were conscious that if this country was attacked, Harrisburg would be very, very vulnerable. The little cupola at the top was the air raid for this general area for spotting along this valley. That was manned by volunteers 24 hours a day for 5 years.
The school on the hill was the full-fledged realization of Mr. Hershey's dream. So it was only appropriate that his funeral in 1945 be held in the auditorium, surrounded by his grateful, growing family. While the Hershey Industrial School continued to grow and change, the mission so close to Mr. Hershey's heart remained as constant as ever.
At Milton Hershey School, they were all your kids. It was a totally different atmosphere. I mean, it wasn't just a school job. It was really a blessing to be with you. You were working with kids and trying to be their confidant, trying to be their advisor, trying to be their role model. And what a feeling you get when you're winning with kids. It wasn't uncommon. Kids came back after they were out of school and became one of our teachers, and good ones too.
I came back to the school June 30th, 2003, and it's been 11 years. Surreal is probably the first word that comes to my mind. It's really different being on the other side, so to speak, now. I see how amazing the adults are and how caring they are. As a student, you don't always get to see that. I love this school, and I've been here most of my life, and I just appreciate everything that I have because of Milton Hershey.
And whether you call it the Junior Senior High School, Senior Hall, or Catherine Hall, in our hearts, it will always be the school on the hill.